All right. So, say you got a vehicle that's got old, cracked, and worn leather seats. They wouldn't look like this because I'm one step ahead of you. But um, I bought a 2007 GMC Yukon Denali that a friend of mine said was clean, was a great flip. Go for it. You got an engine that'll work in it. So I bought it. Um, Long story short, it's been a giant headache. And um, replaced the carpet, steam cleaned everything, and I'm repairing the front seats because they were pretty cracked. That had a hole there, and there was a hole there as well. So um, now you can buy used seats, but they're never going to look great either. They're in a junkyard usually. Rare are you going to find ones that are in great shape, or you can pay someone to recover them or refinish them, and that costs money. So what I did is I steam cleaned the seats, and then I used some isopropyl 99%. And I went to the seatdoctor.com and I got their leather filler here, the crack filler, and then the dye. And I used I bought these on Amazon. There's a set of 5 of them. These little mini trowels, they're for art, to spread it. And then when that was all set, I used this, I think it's a 320 grit sanding pad. I just went over everything, smoothed it out. I'm going to put fresh stuff on there soon because this was pretty cracked up and I want it to be smooth. And so this will be smooth soon. Once I apply it and let it dry, then you can sand. I have to sand it again. And then the dye goes on. I believe it just goes on from, and the video will be finished with however I do it. I can spray this, but I, don't have a machine that's so small. It's more of a car sprayer. But you can put it on with a rag, I believe, the rub-on method right there. So that's what I'll probably do here. And I'll rub this onto the seats. And apparently this matches the interior color. But even if it doesn't exactly, the whole front row, including the center console here, are going to be dyed. And so it should work out just fine, even if it's a little off. And of course, you have to mask off around all the plastic up there. And I'll probably just take this out and just make it just so I don't have to mask off there. And I'm going to finish the video with that. So I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to fill that crack some more and let it cure. And then hopefully by the end of the day today, before I leave the office, I can get the dye on. I'll just get one coat. I'm sure it takes more than one coat. We'll see. But I'm excited here because the dye only cost me maybe, I think, 20-30 bucks or so. And then the filler was like 10 bucks for that little tiny thing. And then the trial set was 5 bucks. And, not that much investment to be able to refinish your seats. And if I do this well, my wife's Volvo has similar seat issues. The dark cracks and nothing that I would need to fill. I just need to re-dye it, but I would fill it in to smooth it out in those cracks. And before I dye any, because why not? So this is kind of neat. I like fixing things and I don't like wasting things. And this is good leather except for the cracks and the dirt. And so some of these didn't, you can see that that dirt didn't come out. It's impossible to these completely clean. Eventually you have to re-dye these, which is something that I didn't realize. I thought you could always clean them back to new looking, but no, you cannot. It is a living substance. Leather is. It has pores. It absorbs oils, and it can dry out. And so it's something. It's not like plastic or vinyl that is synthetic. You have to take care of leather, and if you don't, well, this happens, and some people find out how to do this stuff. So here I am, and I'm going to pause and go to work. Okay, so I've used an old sock to apply the dye to the seats, and you can sort of see there's some streaking on it, of course, but as the base gets built up with the correct color, the streaks I don't think will be noticeable. And leather's got a pattern to it anyway, so I think it'll be fine. I could go to the store and buy one of the sprayers that they recommend for like 15 bucks, but then I'm spraying stuff into the air and possibly losing some product in the same time. So I think I'll be fine this way. So you can see a lot of that white stuff is getting colored, which is nice. And I got the headrests in there like that. I'm gonna get those. And then this is what there's Buddy. Hi, Buddy. Buddy has boundary limits, but he's adorable. And this is what that patch looks like. It'll be nice. It'll cover it perfectly once the dye primes it and finally puts the coat of color on it, basically. So there we go. This is kind of like step 2 or 3. I guess this is the last step. Once it's on and dry, it's done. But it's going to take, I think, 3 or 4 more applications of it to get a solid, good color base. So back to work I go. Oh, also you can use a heat gun to help accelerate the process. I had the heat gun set up there, pointing down where this was down here, and it was pointing down, drying this out because I was filling it. So anyway, that's where we're at. Buddy's gonna help, right, buddy? No, yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so this is probably coat 3 that's dry, and I've gone heavy in the spots that needed it. So see down here where you can still see that there's some, try to get a good view of it. Yeah, right there you go. You can still see that. But a lot better than it was. And then if you throw it on thick, it gets into the gaps right here. And that's just kind of is what it is. Probably shouldn't have, but you know, is what it is. It'll dry and it'll eventually flake off from me sitting in the vehicle and getting it worn in. Who the hell knows? But it's covering nicely. You can see it's blending. You can see it looks tanner where there was that white filler. Everything else still looks darker because you're putting a lighter color onto a darker leather. This color is a touch lighter, or the leather that is existing is just dirty, which is probably the case. So it looks pretty good. The headrests I think look great because they were the cleanest, and so you're not covering up the grit and the grime, and they look really good. And then I'm real impressed with this. This is my armrest, and as you can see there-ish, let's see if I can't focus it on it. Right there, it won't focus it on, but that's where it was all tore up, and it's barely noticeable now. So I'm going to throw the centerpiece back in and call this one done. That one's nice and dry. But I'm going to give these probably 2 more coats, and then I think I'll be done. So, and then I'll be good. I'm debating on getting the sprayer to do it so that the finish is more uniform. But I'm worried about overspray. So we'll see. But yeah, this stuff works. I am already kind of sold on it. And, you know, if I had a nicer little airbrushing sprayer, and that's what I started with, these would be done by now. But seeing I don't have that, and I wanted to try the hand method first for just simplicity, it does take a bit. So I would recommend using the sprayer unless the later parts of this video start to recommend against that, because we'll see what happens. All right, so the Preval sprayer did a great job when it worked. I'll go into that more in a minute. But first off, you need to hold it at like a 45-degree angle, between 40 and 90. It can't be straight up, can't be on its side. So anyway, with that, it did a nice job. I mean, you can see, of course, it's got spray pattern to it, but that's fine because you see the pattern here because it's wet dye. It'll dry lighter and it'll blend. I think this might be the last coat I need to do, but I've got enough to do at least 1 more coat. And I got some running there, so I'm just going to touch that up with the next coat. And you can see where it was really bad down here. It looks pretty darn good. It's all, you know, wet still. It's a nice, shiny coat. You have to make sure it doesn't run. And I had to thin it out with maybe like an ounce of distilled water. But the problem is that every time I put the Preval spray unit in here and tried to spray, it would leak. It would leak out this little hole right there. And so that's a problem. And now the tube is somewhere in there, and I've got to fish it out. Yeah, there it is. There we go. Other than that, it sprayed well when it worked. I took the little filter off the end because it was thick dye. But anyway, yeah, this is going to look great. I think 1 more coat after this, and it's going to look about as good as it's gonna. And I'll call this done. So, cool. All right, so this is basically done. There's a few spots that are still drying. You can sort of see some discoloration there. That's because there's still some paint that's wet there. Because I touched up a spot. But otherwise, comparing it to where it was, this is insane. It's great. I mean, it's really, really good. I'm very impressed with this product. And also, this is the center console lid, and you can see where it used to be damaged there. It's extraordinarily hard to tell. You can sort of see in that glare there something was going on, but otherwise, nothing. So yeah, this is great. So I'm super impressed. The whole everything cost me like $50. So totally worth it. Do this if you're handy and you've got yourself half a day. or a whole day if you've never done stuff like this. Pull your seats out, prep them. Everything can be done. Have a hair dryer or a heat gun waiting to help you speed up the curing process on this stuff, and be handy and fix shit. Because seriously, who would have thought that for 50 bucks you can do all this? So anyway, be well, be handy, and fix shit, people.